Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Wednesday night edition of Inside the Headset. Going to roll right back up to Knoxville. Going to talk to my old buddy and good friend, head coach of the Knoxville Catholic Fighting Irish, head coach Philip Shadowens. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Doing great. Still here at the office doing a little work, but doing good, buddy.
Well, you've been on kind of a different situation, and so the last time I talked to you, you were getting ready to go in and face Marty and the NBA Big Red Machine, and you lost that close one, 24-23. I hate to take you back to it, but man, somewhere around in there, I feel like you were real close at winning that football game, and I got to know more. So tell me what happened.
Well, sure. I mean, obviously, we took a lead there in the fourth quarter, 23-17. They got the ball with maybe 9.5 minutes left, something like that, and they went on a 9-minute drive, and we couldn't get off the field, and they scored, kicked extra point. We're up by one, and we got the ball back with about 30 seconds left. And, couldn't get anything done those last 30 seconds. So, a great football game. We've had a lot of those, and that's part of, we got to find ways to close games. We know that, and that's part of, that's part of growing up as a football team and maturing as a football team. And that's, that's kind of what happened on that one against the NBA a couple of weeks ago. A little different than what happened against Brentwood Academy, obviously, but we've had our share of those, and we just got to find ways, to get off the field when you got to get off the field, and we got to find ways that it don't always come down to the last drive. But that's kind of far as a program with a lot of youngins, and so we got to find ways to close games. And every one of those you learn something, and I think our kids learn something. So we're going to keep battling, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and our kids, we're getting better every week, and that's kind of what our focus is right now.
Well, you're sitting at 3-4, and you went ahead and gave the Brentwood Academy game the 63-26, and they've been hungry. I mean, I watched a little bit of them against Baylor. I watched a little bit of that game, and I tell you, it's it's a tough league you're in, and if you're not prepared to play, every team in your league is just unbelievably talented.
Well, sure. And against BA, it was a great Thursday. It was a Thursday night game. It was a TV game up here in East Tennessee, and
okay.
And first half, the score was 21-13 at half, but we had turned it over twice on their 1 yard line.
Oh, God.
First and go from the one, we had a fumble. And then we threw. Then another time we got the ball down there and threw a pick. And then two other times we were inside the 10 and settled for field goals. And we gave up a kickoff return. It was 14-13 with about 4 minutes left in the half. We gave up a kickoff return, which can't happen. So it was 21-13 at half. We should have been minimum of 28. We had 300 yards of offense in the first half, and just couldn't finish drives and couldn't get it in the end zone. And we got to be a little more physical. We got to be able to run the football in the end zone at times, and wasn't able to do that. In the second half, took opening drive. They scored. We had a penalty, a sack, and then a really bad punt that shortened the field, and they scored. And then we threw two pick sixes in a row, and the game was over. So it went a little 6-minute spell there in the third quarter. It went from being a great football game to, unfortunately for us, we were on the wrong side of that, and got rolling the wrong direction. And from that point, it was over, and we scored a couple touchdowns later. But it was kind of over at that point. Had a lot of turnovers, and you can't do that. So that was the worst quarter. That third quarter against BA, and just one of those things I tell our kids. It wasn't the fact that you quit, wasn't the fact of anything, but a lot of bad things happen. And when bad things are happening, somehow you got to find a way to make a play to change that momentum. And we never, for that 6 or 8 minutes of the third quarter, everything that could go wrong at that point did. And then the game was essentially over. You go down from being one score, you're down 5 scores. In a hurry, just because of a drive, a bad punt, and then 2 pick sixes. A lot of bad things happen really, really quickly there.
Well, and kids have to learn somewhere along the way. You got to grab control and settle down and stop the bleeding. You can't fix it all at once. Just stop the bleeding, like you said, and start coming forward and stop making mistakes and just get the train on the track and get it rolling, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, and that's a lesson to be learned. Because in the course of a game, in the course of a season, you're going to have things that happen. that are not going your way, and you've got to find a way to change that momentum. There's not some magic potion for that. There's not something, you can teach to do that. You just, as players, as a group of players, as a team, you have to find a way collectively to go make a play and say, no, we're not going down this road. We're going to find a way to make a play to change it back to your side. And that third quarter, just, wasn't about a lack of effort or anything like that. It was just, bottom line is we couldn't find a way to make that play, and it just kind of snowballed on us. So, we've kicked that quarter away from us. We've kicked it down. There's nothing we can do about that, and now it's on to the next one. But, we're having growing pains. We knew that. We knew what was going on. I told our kids today in practice at the end is that, a lot of people make excuses, and, a lot of people, even our own people say, Coach, I see us doing so many good things. The future is bright. Absolutely, the future is bright. We know that. We're building something really special here. But in the meantime, there's still not an excuse not to go out and perform and find ways to win. That's what we're trying to do, right? So we've had a great week of practice, a very intense week of practice, to say the least. And we come down to Nashville this week and play Lipscomb Academy. So we're really looking forward to getting back on the field and see if we can make some progress in the right direction and find a way to win a game.
Well, and they're sitting at 2-5, and nobody should take Lipscomb Academy lightly. They've got a lot of talented guys on their team, and they may be going through some growing pains too. So this little game you got coming up may be the game of who's going to grow up the most and who's going to come away with that win.
They got after NBA really good. They played the NBA last week. The week after we played them, they beat them 23-0 last week, and we know. I mean, Lipscomb is crazily talented. We know that, and the schedule they've played. There've been teams from all over the place they've played. A lot of out-of-state teams, and I mean their schedule's been incredible all the way through. They're a very talented team. Extremely talented. So we know that going in. They got a big dominant front. They got a big 4-star guard. They got another left tackle. It's a big old kid. They run the ball effectively. Have some talented receivers. They're playing a young quarterback right now. I think an 8th grade kid that just moved up and started playing the last couple of weeks. It's a 6'2" kid that everybody thinks is really, really, really special. And he looks really good on video. But certainly we're looking forward, maybe not to driving to Nashville, but we're looking forward to 7:00 Central. We get to play again because our last experience on the field was not what we expect, not what we want. So we're looking forward to that, and our kids have really, once again, our kids are doing everything we're asking them to do. They're working their tails off for us, and they're getting better. We see the individual improvement. We would certainly like to be rewarded, on a Friday night with a win, but nobody's going to give that to you. You got to go out and earn that.
Well, I got to ask because so many different stadiums you play in versus coaching in 5A or 6 when you was at Blackman and at Smyrna. What's the biggest difference as each school you go to when you're more in that private setting? What is the biggest thing that's so different? Because for those that don't know it, I was fortunate enough to be with Coach Shad in 2004 and 2005 and 2006. I mean, if you've never been to a high school football game where there's anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 fans, and they're still coming in at the third quarter trying to get into the football game. It was some of those nights. But that's the biggest thing I can remember back in those days. But I hadn't seen any of those crowds lately. But what's the biggest difference in the private sector, like the Friday night after Friday night, the experience as far as the crowd and what's going on?
And we have great crowds. Last week we were on fall break when we played BA on Thursday night, so we didn't have as many. But we have 700 students at our school, boys and girls collectively. And I'm going to guess that 300 to 350 show up every Friday night to a home football game.
Wow.
And so, and usually in a public school you may have a couple thousand people in one of those big schools, but maybe you get 150 students there, or whatever. So the support is incredible. Our crowds are really good. The environment is second to none. Now, sometimes you don't get as many obviously when you drive to Memphis or you drive to Nashville. I mean, parents aren't going to let their kids, drive that far to a football game, to watch as a spectator. But last year, like we played the semifinal game against Baylor, and we probably had 250, 300 students drive to Chattanooga, and we took that bus too, but they had a bunch of them that drove themselves. I mean, we had a gigantic crowd. So the environment is spectacular.
Right.
May not be as big in numbers maybe in the days when, when I was at Smyrna and we were playing, for semifinal games and you were standing room only in a stadium, people packed all around the track standing just to get in. But it is really, really big crowds here, and the environment is second to none. So, and I've been to some public school games obviously as well when we're off or we play a Thursday night, and I don't see any of those environments maybe like we used to have back in the big days at Blackman, at the end of Blackman, or at Smyrna when those last 7-8 years we were really, really good there. We had gigantic crowds all the time. I don't see anybody having those kind of crowds like they used to, or that environment like it used to be. But our environment at our school, I mean, we get great support from the community, great support from our student body. Our faculty's always here, and so there, we have one of those second to none kind of environments here. That's why it's one of the many reasons why it's such a special place to be.
Well, and I think you just answered it. It's the ratio of students and the participation. You just said it. It's about, the ratio. If you've got 700 and 300 are coming, so 50% of the fan base or the student body is coming. So if we went let's say if we took a student body of 2,500 and now we split that in half, well, you're talking about,
right.
You've got a heck of a student. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's the ratio of the per capita of what I'm looking at of the participation factor. That's the big thing I'm looking at. That private is you got a lot bigger following with what you're doing a lot more with less. Is basically what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely, and the support is just phenomenal at every sport here. We get good support in other sports here as well. So. We're for each other, and a lot of schools are, but our participation, the number of our kids that come is amazing. So, it's a great environment. It's a great place to be. We're building something really special, and we want to win football games right now. But I told our kids absolutely the reason we play and they keep there's a scoreboard on the end of the field is because the idea is to win the game. Period. But I also tell my coaches at the same time I want to see us improve every week. Because we know we're in the playoffs. We're probably going to go to Memphis, it looks like, in the first round and play somebody. But we want to make sure that we're improving every week to put ourselves in position to make the playoff run. It don't matter if you've won 3 or 13, whatever. Makes no difference when the playoffs start. So I want to see us continue to take those steps forward. We're playing more young kids than maybe we even did at the start of the year. Not because of injury, just because of they've learned our system a little better, and we want them to experience what high school football is about and where they got to go to match up in this league. So some of our matchups aren't the best right now, even though they're crazy talented young kids. But we want them to understand here's where it's at right now. You're talented. You've been offered by a lot of schools already as a young kid, but man, you've really got to develop your physical strength and all the things that we know you got to be successful to do. So we're taking a little bit of a punch right now. I've been saying we're going to be better as the year goes forward, and I really think we do. Even though our schedule continues to get hard, we have Lipscomb, McCallie, and Baylor, the final 3 regular season games. And but at the same time, I want to see our kids keep taking a step forward. And I told our kids today, as a lifelong guy that's been a Middle Tennessee guy that's been to probably 300 or 400 Vanderbilt games when I was growing up as a kid, all the way through adulthood, really. And I said, I promise you that when those guys got ready to play Alabama 2 weeks ago, with those 4 or 5 4-stars that Vanderbilt has compared to those 50 or 60 whatever Alabama has, Vanderbilt wasn't trying to figure out a way to play close, right? They're figuring out a way to try to win, and maybe the whole team didn't believe there at Vanderbilt early on that they had a chance to beat Vanderbilt, chance to beat Alabama. But as the game went on, everybody started believing, and so our expectations here is we're really talented, and we know that. Now, a lot of our talent is very young, but who cares, right? We're really talented. Like, our expectations have to be, I'm going to make a play to help us win. Within our system, within what we're supposed to be doing, I'm going to make a play. I'm going to be the one that causes a turnover. I'm going to make a big catch and a great run after catch. And, I'm going to run the ball hard right here. I'm going to make a big block. And that's the way we have to approach it, that I'm going to help us find a way to win. And if we all get on that, get on that train, then we can win right now. But it's got to be total commitment from everybody. As we're playing 2 seniors, period. 2 seniors are playing on Friday night for us right now. So we got to have these young guys step up and understand, yes, we're going to compete, but we're going to win. We're going to find a way to win. And that's what we're pushing our kids to do. And, man, we're having a lot of fun coaching them. They're a great group to coach, and they are getting better. We see that individual improvement. We certainly want to see that on the scoreboard starting Friday night. But we're going to keep grinding, and we're going to keep getting better, because the end product of this thing is going to be a special place.
Coach, good luck. Safe travels as you come to Nash Vegas, and we will talk to you real soon on Inside the Headset.
All right, thanks, brother. Appreciate your story.
See you. Bye.